So it's been a while since I've talked about anything on here that's remotely controversial or splitting a crowd anyway. So let's see how many people I lose by talking about this. No. I do want to set up, I want to do a lot of disclaimers at the beginning of this video and say that I'm not generally a guy that holds a lot of really strong opinions. I like to think that I'm a logical person, but we all do. We're all subject to the same logical fallacies and the same biases. So I want to get that out of the way first and foremost. I don't 100% believe in almost anything. With everything for me, it's a percentage. You know, I 80% think this is true, but there's a 20% of me that might be skeptical, or 20% of me that thinks, whatever, you know. For me, it's always a percentage. So this particular subject that I'm going to be talking about today, I am very borderline on it. I'm going to be kind of presenting one side of this argument, but the whole way, I really want you guys to understand that I do see the other side. I totally respect the other side, and there's a big chunk of my brain that agrees with that other side, okay? So I have to get that out of the way first and foremost, because what happens a lot in videos is like, I might be 70-30 on something, and I'll present that 70% that I'm leaning toward, and there's a whole bunch of people that get in there and get angry, especially if it's a highly emotional topic, which this is, and you'll see why. But people get on there and they get really mad and they yell and scream at me, and I'm kind of like, yeah, okay, well, I don't necessarily disagree with you on those points. It's just I lean this other way, and that's what the case is here. So anyway, so let's just jump into what's going on here and why I'm being so about the whole thing. I don't know how many of you guys might follow Patreon and what's going on with Patreon. I've had a lot of people ask me to talk about or weigh in on this. I've certainly had a lot of people weigh in with me on this, but they've made some headlines lately that people have gotten really up in arms because they banned some creators that generally fall, let's just say, on the right side of the political spectrum, on the right-wing leaning people. The number one person that I think kind of triggered everybody, I don't mean to use it in that sarcastic way, but was Sargon of Akkad. Now I'm going to lay it out right now. I have watched a couple of his videos. I don't necessarily follow the guy. So anything that I say here may or may not apply to him. And if you are a fan of his, you might think I'm totally talking out of my ass, and that's fair. I may be lumping him in with some people that he shouldn't be lumped in with, but I lost some Patreon subscribers because of it. Most of the people who jumped ship after, well, I don't want to say most, but several people who jumped ship sent me very nice complimentary emails and messages and were saying, look, I really love your channel and I want to support you. A lot of them were asking about alternative ways to support the channel, but they just didn't want to be a part of Patreon anymore. They didn't agree with what they did. They felt it was censorship and all that kind of stuff. And I want to say again, first and foremost, I hold nothing against the people that have left me on Patreon. I totally understand where they're coming from. They are in every right to do what they're doing and make that choice. And I know it's not about me. It affects me, but it's not about me. I'm not broke now because of it or anything. It was a small percentage of my supporters on there. And while I'm on the topic, there is another option now if you wanted to support the channel but didn't want to go the Patreon route. I know a lot of people didn't want to do Patreon in the first place just because it's a third place to go. So YouTube has this membership thing that just launched last year. And I've been eligible for it for a long time, but I've never engaged it because I didn't want to have one more thing to keep track of. It was just kind of easier for me to lead everybody to Patreon. I dealt with everybody there and dealt with those perks and whatnot. So I just felt like I would be splitting my time and it would just be one more thing to keep track of. So I never really took the YouTube membership thing seriously, but when this happened, I wanted to kind of give people another option. So I looked into it some more and it didn't look like that big of a deal. So I haven't really made this announcement on the channel yet. I'll probably do it in a little video or a live stream or something. But yeah, I've opened up memberships on the main YouTube channel, on the Answers with Joe YouTube channel. It's like $4.99 a month. That's the only payment tier. Patreon lets you select all different kinds. This is only basically $5 a month, and it gives you a couple of little perks. Anyway, you can go check it out, and I'll announce it at some point. But anyway, that's not the point of this at all. I kind of got sidetracked, sorry. So anyway, yeah, so Patreon booted Sargon of Akkad and a few other people. Sorry, their names are kind of escaping me right now, but they generally are on the right side of the political spectrum. And so a lot of people have been talking about free speech and censorship, and they shouldn't be doing that and everything. And some people have asked me to weigh in and give my opinion on that. And again, this is a very highly emotional topic. I know people are very passionate about this subject, and I 100% understand my opinion is not going to jive with other people's opinions on this. This is just my opinion. This is kind of the way I see it. And again, there's a part of me that totally gets the other side of the argument and does not disagree with it in any way, shape, or form. I just kind of lean this way, okay? Being very cagey about all this. But anyway, my personal view on the whole Patreon banning creators that they don't feel comfortable being associated with is that it's their right to do so. They are a business, they are a private company, and they have the right to work with whoever they want to work with. And if you violate their terms of service or their standards or whatever, then they have the right to say, no, we're not going to work with you anymore. If they feel like you are using their platform to raise money and encourage, let's just say, violence, and by the way, I'm just saying if they see it that way, that you are using their platform to do that, they are in their right to say, we don't want to be a part of that. And I'm sure that there's some legal reasons why they would do that. I mean, I'm sure they ran this by lawyers and were like, look, if a follower of one of these people takes what they're saying too far and goes and does something violent, then people are going to start saying, how does this person make money? Oh, they do it through Patreon. They don't want to be associated with that. I'm sure it was like a preemptive strike. It was a cover your ass kind of thing, and you might call it cowardly, and I wouldn't even disagree with that statement. But that was the choice they made, and as a private business, they have that right to do that. That's my opinion. And I want to state, just to be clear, that I've been congruent about this. I've been consistent about this. That was the word I was looking for. I did a video on this channel back when the adpocalypse was going on, and there were all these people throwing a fit because YouTube was cracking down on what types of videos they did ads for, and this did affect me. I had many videos get demonetized for really stupid reasons. I had a video about oxytocin, which is a hormone that we create in our body. It's called the love drug. It's the cuddle hormone. It kind of makes us bond to people. I did a video about that, and the title it said, "Is love just a drug?" It got demonetized because the word drug was in the title. I mean, really stupid stuff. I've had videos demonetized because the Google auto-translate, the auto-caption function, threw an F-bomb in there, even though I didn't say an F-bomb. It thought that it heard one and put that in the captions, and therefore my video got demonetized. They've all been, manually reviewed and fixed. But I said back then that all these people that are complaining because they're getting demonetized and all this stuff, I said back then, Google, YouTube, they are a business and they have the right to do their business however they want, and they owe you nothing. They owe you nothing. I said this back then, I believe it's still today. YouTube is one of the only platforms, social media platforms, that actually pays their creators, and it's made so many people, I almost said wealthy, but it's made careers for so many people, including myself. So when you're on a platform, you got to play by their rules. That's just the way it is. You don't get to tell them. It just feels like entitlement to me. And while this is a different situation, I feel it's sort of the same way with Patreon. They are not under any obligation. They are not owed anybody anything to have them on their platform. They can work with whoever they want to work with, and that's just the nature of the situation. Now, what's happening now is Jordan Peterson got involved, and some other people. I want to say Ben Shapiro, but don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. But anyway, they have talked about they're going to create their own. I mean, they're calling it free speech, but you could call it conservative, whatever. But they're going to create their own funding platform. Exactly. That's how it works. And they're going to set that up, and Sargon and all these other guys are going to get on there. They're going to be just fine. They might miss a little bit of money, but I'm sure that Patreon is not their only revenue stream. And if it is, I'm sorry, that's their fault. You've got to diversify these things. So all that is said to kind of set up what I believe I'm going to title this video, which is the Provocateur business model. Let me step back just a little bit. When I was in college, there was a guy who would come to the campus every year, usually at the beginning of the semester, and his name was Brother Carl. That's what people called him, was Brother Carl. And he was like this crazy street preacher guy. So he would come on campus, again, usually at the beginning of the semester. I don't know why exactly, but he would come on campus and he would yell and scream at the students. He would swing, he would hold a Bible and he would swing it around and he would yell, and he was kind of like the Westboro Baptist Church, God hates fags guys, but not with, I don't remember him having signs necessarily, but he just made a ruckus, and there was always a big crowd that formed around him, and he would yell at them and say, "You're fornicators and masturbators." And I remember one time I stopped by and was listening to him, and he was talking about how the frats would rape your dog and stuff. I mean, just crazy stuff. He was a provocateur. I came to find out later, it wasn't just at my school. That was the University of North Texas. He didn't just go there. He also went to Texas A&M. He also went to Baylor. He also went to, he basically, that was his business. He would travel from school to school and provocate people. And what he was basically trying to do was to get somebody to attack him. And then he would sue that person, and that's how he made his money. I don't know if that was like his only job or what, but that's what he did for a living. And that's part of how he funded his lifestyle. And that, to me, is sort of like what's going on today on the internet. Now, again, I'm talking. This kind of got triggered in me to talk about this because of the whole Sargon situation. And so, many of you who are fans of his, you might say he doesn't belong in this group. Fair enough. I'm not trying to like lump him in with people that maybe he shouldn't be lumped into. But one person's provocateur is another person's truth teller. Some people might see that, and this is totally an opinion thing. This is totally subjective. One person might see Sargon and say, "Here's an asshole who is just trying to rile people up," and somebody else might see him and say, "No, he's saying what nobody else will say." But the business model of a provocateur is did I just hear shotguns outside? Maybe it's just construction going on. It sounded like a gun went off. Anyway, the business model of a provocateur is poke the bear, and then when the bear fights back, say, "Oh, well, I'm a victim," and profit on that, basically. And again, look, I believe Sargon is going to be perfectly fine. If you go into Google Trends, and I did this, if you go into Google Trends and look up his name, in the last month, he has trended higher than he has ever trended in his entire career. Getting censored, the bear poking the bear and the bear fighting back, it's not a bug, it's a feature. It is a part of the business plan. And this is something that I'm seeing all over the place now. I see it a lot on the right. I'm sure there's plenty of it on the left as well. This really isn't about ideology. This isn't about political ideology. This is more about how people make money by pissing people off, getting people riled up. And sometimes that comes with a buttload of misinformation, obviously with a lot of bias, but sometimes that's with misinformation and lies and stuff like that. But it's basically just, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to poke the bear over and over again until the bear fights back, and then I'm going to claim victimhood and censorship. And that's the part that always gets me. a lot of these guys, they're tough guys, they're truth tellers, they're brave until somebody fights back or until there's a consequence socially for what they've said. And then suddenly they're victims and they decry First Amendment and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, no, you don't get to be both. I mean, that's my opinion. You don't get to be both. Like, I get on here, I mean, like, just the fact that I'm doing this video and I gave so many disclaimers on it, I'm not out to, like, piss people off, you know? I'm at the point now where, like, there's no way that if I did a video that was like, the sky is blue and it's pretty, I would still get comments from people telling me that I'm a piece of shit. I mean, it's just, that's the way it is right now. I've reached that level, I guess, whatever. But I'm not out to piss people off. I'm not out to provocate. But there's a lot of people who do. And there's a whole business model behind it. And let's just go down this direction for a second. So one thing that I can give Donald Trump credit for is he knew in 2016, and he's still doing it today, how to manipulate the media. He knew how to make sure his name was on the headline of every newspaper all around the country every single day of the election cycle. He owned every news cycle. And he did it by saying outlandish stuff. Whether it's true or not, that's a whole different issue, but he said stuff that made headlines. And that's why he wound up getting, what was it, like $4 billion worth of free publicity, free marketing, by just having his name in headlines everywhere he went. That's the Provocateur business model. And to be completely fair, okay, Elon Musk is the same way. Elon Musk does the same thing. There's a reason why I and many other YouTubers talk about Elon Musk so much. He's always trending. He's always in the news. That's why Tesla is able to be a successful car company without doing any advertising, because he knows how to sort of manipulate the media. He said, like, when he did the joint on Joe Rogan, he knew everybody would be talking about that the next day. He knew that, okay? And that's how he's able to stay in the headlines. That's how he's able to keep Tesla in the news. So it works. It's not something I'm particularly interested in, but it works. And that's something we're seeing a lot more of. It's something we're going to be seeing a lot more of. And I don't know where to go from here. I got to the end of all my words. Hang on. No, anyway, that's my opinion on it, okay? There is a business model around being a provocateur. And if you are somebody who goes that route and decides you're going to be, even if you just consider yourself a truth teller, you know you're saying things that many people don't agree with. You know you're saying things that are poking the bear. I keep using that phrase over and over again. And eventually, there's going to be a consequence to that. That's just reality. And maybe call me cynical. I don't think any of these guys are really shocked when the bear pokes back. I think that is the point. I think that's what they were going for. So, all that said, yeah, I lost a few Patreon supporters because of all that. They see it as a free speech issue. And again, I might be 60% in the direction of what I'm talking about here. There is a 40% part of me that totally 100% gets that, and I don't disparage them in any way, shape, or form for the decisions that they made, but that's just my personal opinion, that a lot of these guys, that's kind of the point. That's why they do what they do. So anyway, I'm sure you have plenty to disagree with me on that. I'm curious to hear how this gets received, but that's my opinion, and it's something that I've seen over and over again in the media, and this is from working in the media, not just on YouTube, but in the newspaper business for 12 plus years before I started doing this full time. So I feel like I've got a little bit of expertise and authority to talk about this, but I do see the other side of the coin. So talk amongst yourselves on that one, and yeah, so there you go. The memberships are now open, like I said, on the main channel, and feel free to go check that out. The only real perks associated with it right now is that you'll be able to go to like Patreon and supporter-only live streams. And I think there's one other thing too. You get these little badges in the comments that show that you're a member in live stream comments and whatnot. So people will know that you're better than them, basically, is what it comes down to. But anyway, you can check that out if you're interested. But I'll do a formal announcement about that later. This video's run long. I apologize, and I'll leave it at that for now. So anyway, there you go. You guys have a good one. Love you guys, and catch you next time.